lot of different ways to use trade. And, you just talked a little bit about, before we came on the air, using trade to kind of handle some of these recurring items, these things that continually happen that, can feel like a drain. Oh, here go, I got to write a check again to the, whoever
it may be.
Every bill that comes in.
No, that's true. When I look at my expenses, and I think if anybody does the same, this is pretty basic stuff, but you've got your fixed expenses, so to speak, and then your variable expenses. And, I pay car insurance every month. I pay my cell phone bill every month. I pay my cable bill every month. There's some of these things that no matter what, that money's going to be coming out of your checking account or your credit card or what have you. And one of the things that we've really been focused on at my company lately, specifically, and then just in general, a way that trade can help businesses is by eliminating some of those regular expenses from your cash budget line. And when you do that, it almost becomes new money. You've had it in your budget all along, but you didn't know it because every dollar that comes in, is going out to pay that cable bill, to pay that internet bill, whatever it is. Oh, that $100 I'm not keeping this month because that's going right to the top of my expense line. And if you can, as I said, one of the things we've been focused on is bringing on vendors into our community, into our trade group, that allow people to take some of those regular automated expenses and pull them from the cash budget line. So if we're saving you $200, $300, $400, $500, $1,000 a month that you were paying before in cash, that adds up really quickly. And the beauty of a trade group is they also send you the customers to cover those bills. So not only are you removing it from the cash budget line, but you've got new customers sent to you to actually get those things paid.
So when you start looking at these different items, now of course you probably can't pay the cable bill with trade.
I don't. So yeah,
I mean, Comcast is, there's certain items that you're probably not going to be able to get. Verizon is probably not, these are huge companies and it's a little bit more difficult.
Definitely.
But there are smaller companies that people engage with on a monthly basis too, as you kind of alluded to.
Well, and as you guys were talking about in the last segment, you were talking about briefly touched on households and how it compares to a kid's bed. I would say a business compares to
it's a loose.
Sure. Well, I'm gonna follow that theme and be loose as well. And say, a household's like a business too. You get expenses in all areas. Most of the business owners I work with, and I work with several hundred at least personally, use a CPA, and they use a bookkeeper, and they have a telephone. And they have a computer that needs to be fixed up or serviced sometimes. They'll do certain benefits for employees. They all have business cards. They all have marketing brochures. They have a website that needs to be maintained. These are kind of like the electricity and the heat and the cable TV at home in one way. They're not necessarily fundamental to the business, they're not used in the construction of the house, where the way cable television isn't. But to live in that home and have a life, to have a functioning business, you need these sorts of things. A lot of businesses would have pest control, maintenance for the inside or outside of their building, regular cleaning or janitorial stuff. There's a ton of regular expenses that almost every business has in common, or at least they have a group of these expenses in common.
And so you're able to then, in some ways, mitigate those cash costs with trade.
Yeah, I've got a few good examples. People that use our pest control company that spend maybe $75, $80 a month, for their back storage area or whatever. It doesn't seem like a ton of money, but that's $1,000 a year. And when you do that over 3 or 4 different types of expense, all of a sudden it's $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year cash you were paying somebody that you've now kept in your pocket. And that adds up.
Yeah. Do you tend to find that people are receptive to that? I mean, I guess there's two pieces to this being receptive. One, you have to accumulate these trade credits, as trade dollars, Itex dollars, in order to spend them, right? So there's two sides. You don't just go, hey, I'm going to trade. Now here you go, just go do this stuff.
Sure.
So you have to kind of earn those by giving some of your services into the pool per se.
That's exactly right. But the beautiful benefit for a business owner when you're doing it that way is that when they contribute to the pool, so to speak, they're not doing it at their own cost. They're doing it at retail cost. So, my company that uses the pest control folks, that $75 a month, that $900 a year they're paying, Well, it doesn't cost them $900 out of pocket, as I said. It costs them $900 worth their own service. And they're making margins on that. So if that $900 of their own service actually costs them, say, $600 in employee time and materials, well, they just got $900 worth of pest control that they would have had to pay $900 cash for $600 worth of their own product.
And more importantly, you guys have maybe even brought them that customer.
Absolutely. That's, I don't know if it's more important, but it's as important and it's equally true. This isn't guy next door who was shopping with you anyway. This is a new guy from across town who says, "Oh, you're gonna trade with me? Then I'll use your service." And so there's a distinct financial advantage built in there. You're buying on your margin and with new business that was pipelined to you. And if you can use that to knock out regular expenses, and this would be true for a person too. Unfortunately, we don't kind of have the same productive capacity as businesses do. But the principle is the same, across the board. It's new business that's pipelined to you that helps you keep down costs, save cash, keep it in your pocket where it belongs.
Yeah, and when you are working in business, of course, new customers are typically what, that's what a lot of those marketing dollars go after.
Absolutely.
And so to be able to essentially recoup those plus some and with much less risk. You don't actually have to spend any money to, say, join Itex.
Exactly.
You could just go, hey, I'm going to try this as a marketing avenue. And by trying it, you may accumulate some of these Itex points that or dollars, credits, that you would not have otherwise received.
You'll get some new customers,
so you
definitely.
you can almost kind of dip your toe in, put your name in the hat and go, hey, would anybody come like to use my services so I can accumulate Itex dollars?
Well, and that's a great point, and I don't know if it's funny, but I think an interesting story that
I hope it's funny, Cameron.
We've got a guy that signed up
no pressure.
A few months ago. I know, boy, I'm feeling the heat now. He came on board, and he was in a little bit of a unique industry. I think it was the coolest thing ever. He's a knife sharpener. And he was trained in sort of, I guess I would say, the old school methodology. It's Japanese water, stone, hand sharpening, really high quality techniques. But young guy, had a nice website. He went to farmers markets, but he didn't have much of another vehicle to promote his business. He's like, where do I advertise? Do I advertise on the radio? Do I advertise on television? A billboard doesn't make sense. So I think he was making a decent living, and his repeat business was great because people loved his service once they used him. But it was like word of mouth was his only gig. So he opened an Itex account with us, and 3 weeks went, and we promoted him out to our customers using all the vehicles we use. And 3.5 weeks went by, and he said, I don't have any customers yet. I don't think this is going to work, because that was his big concern. Can you get me customers? And we said, hold on, bear with us a couple more weeks. Sometimes it takes a little while for this to kick in. And sure enough, 3 days later, he gets an order. He's now got 2 restaurants that he's servicing regularly. He's been doing people's homes, going in and totally touching up all the nice knives in their kitchens. And he's already turned it into direct mail advertising, so that entirely new channel he didn't have before is a way for him to get into homes and get in front of thousands of people that he never would have done otherwise.
Yeah, it's a little bit of that domino effect or snowball effect.
Yeah. The extra business we brought him got him a little bit of money to do these new things, got him people talking to the right people, and then the business kind of builds. Now, obviously, we're not going to be the primary cause of making or breaking a business, but we can definitely tip the scales in the right direction.
Yeah, I like how you talk about, it doesn't have to necessarily be services that you may think of services, you talked about pest control. It could be something like, you guys have mail marketing.
Sure.
Mail marketing.
Sure, absolutely.
And so you can actually take, if you put your name in the hat and all of a sudden, as you're saying, you get a couple customers who come in because you're willing to do trade, you can then use that money to try to go market your business in a much of various ways.
In the traditional, and that's how many of our most successful customers operate, is they use trade business to generate more cash business, advertising. That's a huge part of it, absolutely.